So we all know the story of the air bridge at this point. The air bridge was basically using the U.S. military as a way of flying in all sorts of PPE, personal protection equipment, masks and whatnot, procuring them around the globe, bringing them back to the United States. What the federal government then did, instead of distributing them to hospitals, instead of giving them to private entities and paying a fee for them to distribute to hospitals because maybe they already had the supply line set up, which we're learning in the context of even like toilet paper or food is really important. Instead, what they did is gave it to these private entities to then start a bidding war to see who deserved it more based upon how much money they were showing up with, whether it was a state or a foreign government. And according to Jared Kushner, it was super effective. Now, of course, Jared may also have a slightly different metric in terms of super effective because a lot of those companies were his buddies.
We've never really had a situation where you had to respond in this quick time frame to such a massive surge in demand for supplies that we didn't make in this country. The Vice President's task force asked my Office of Innovation to get involved with the Innovation Office at CMMI to work on some public-private partnerships to work with the existing structures. So we were able to work together to figure out a lot of innovative public-private partnerships to get the missions accomplished. So the first one we did was Project Airbridge, where we were able to get now close to 100 flights, massive cargo flights filled with critical supplies that we didn't make here in America, over to our frontline healthcare workers. The healthcare sector in America is mostly controlled by private sector and not-for-profit, so it's not run by the government. So you needed to take a custom-tailored approach, and we created a control tower approach with the private company distributors in order to make sure that we could be as efficient as possible, and it's been quite successful. And now, everyone's talking about testing, and I have to say that the work that's been done over the last 60 days on testing has been absolutely extraordinary. We're at about 5.8 million tests now performed, by far the most in the world, and you're going to see that number continue to accelerate. We're starting another round of calls with all the governors today to ask them what additional supplies they need, what's their 2-month plan, what's their 6-month plan, and right now we fulfilled all the orders that the governors have. They have excess capacity in their states. Yesterday, Governor DeSantis was saying that he has more testing capacity than he has demand for the tests, and so we're really doing quite well with that. And I always find that we see the leading indicators,
and
often
I mean, there's just so many lies here. It's unbelievable. First of all, the number that he cited in terms of tests with tests sent out, they haven't set up the testing mechanisms. There's no place where there isn't a demand for tests. That's absurd. Beyond which, the innovation seems to be, let's use public resources to secure these things and then allow private entities to price gouge. That seems to be the innovation that the innovation office seems to have come up with. Is there any more to that? Do we need to hear any more of that? Good.
Filled all the orders that the governors have. They have excess capacity in their states. Yesterday, Governor DeSantis was saying that he has more testing capacity than he has demand for the tests, and so we're really doing quite well with that. And I always find that we see the leading indicators, and often the media sees the lagging indicators, but the leading indicators, our testing, are extraordinarily positive, and I'm very confident that we have all the testing we need to start opening the country in accordance with the safety guidelines that President Trump, the Vice President, Dr. Birx, and Dr. Fauci laid out on April 19th.
Yeah, except the problem with that is that the guidelines that he's referring to, the specific guidelines he's referring to, say that you have to have 14 days of consistent dropping infection rates. There is not a single state in the entire country that has had that meets those guidelines. And so they're ignoring their own guidelines as to them giving blessing of states so-called opening up. Michael?